Do you love guns? Hi, Gene Kelly here, and I've always been passionate about firearms. I started gunsmithing and went to gunsmithing school when I was just 18. I've been a professional gunsmith for over 40 years now, and I'm a licensed Class II manufacturer. I've been teaching gunsmithing since 1993. Now, we started the Gunsmithing Club of America 15 years ago to create a place where people who shared our passion, both professionals and hobbyists, could find reliable, trusted information on real-world gunsmithing. We wanted to provide a place where our instructors could continuously teach our members, where both hobbyists and professional gunsmiths could share their experience and learn from each other. It's to be a trusted community with reliable information. We knew that it would be an extremely powerful resource and tool to preserve our gunsmithing knowledge, provide our members with an enjoyable experience, and as a place that actually protects our firearms freedoms by keeping our guns functioning properly. As a member of the GCA, you'll have access to over 400 hours of gunsmithing instruction and techniques on video, all by qualified instructors who are masters in the field. You will receive our monthly Gun Tech video magazine and print magazine. Plus, the GCA members' website contains almost 200 extremely detailed firearm disassembly and reassembly video courses, hundreds of product reviews, firearms evaluations, and industry interviews. The Gunsmithing Club of America is a one-of-a-kind organization. There's no other club or group specifically dedicated to the art, craft, and profession of gunsmithing. As a hobbyist or a professional, you'll find that this is your source for the knowledge you need. So feed your passion about guns and gunsmithing by being a member in a community of like-minded individuals. If this sounds like you, join us today.
All right, we're ready to take our Martini small action apart, and it's still a small gun. It's a little carbine type, but I'm going to go ahead and take the buttstock off first, simply to shorten things up even more. Pretty simple to do. Going to want to make sure that our lever is out of our lever plate here. Lever lock plate, that is. Unscrew the 2 screws in the butt plate. And I want a screwdriver that fits that slot a little better. There we go. Butt plate comes off. All well and good. Slide that over there. Now looking down inside, find a long screwdriver that will reach down in, come into contact with the bolt, get inside the screwdriver slot in said bolt, and unscrew it. This is snug all the way out. Oh, there we go. So there's the stock, there's the gun. Turn that up, and you can see there's the bolt, and I just pushed it down in there. We are snug. No, that's not going to fit. So I'm going to have to get a long dowel to knock that out. Nope, there it is. That looks like something out of a Model A Ford. I mean, look at that, it's huge. Big stock bolt. Lay it to the side. Now, our latch plate for our lever, actually when I got this gun for this DNR, this was actually reversed. The distance from here to here is different, and it was flipped around and the latch wouldn't work right. So be aware, when you go to put it together, you're going to have to make sure that it detents, and I'll show you that here in just a moment. And a lot of these old guns have been apart 100 times. The screws are all chewed up, you know. I mean, look at the stock. Got lots of character. And without damaging the stock some more, get that to pop out. Get to turn this over so you guys just get a better idea. This little area right here, detents into this plate. So just be aware. Throw it over here out of the way. Lay our buttstock out of the way. Now we're going to go to the other end of the gun. We're going to take our front band off. And the first thing we're going to do is tap out this rather large band pin. There it is. And you know what? Since I got the punch, I'm going to go ahead and take out this other pin as well. There it is. Lay both of those off to the side. Coming back to the front band, get my screwdriver that will loosen up that screw until that's loose enough to work its way down and off. Machined, not stamped. And then it was blued at one time. It's got some wear and tear, but what a cool, what a cool item. Old guns are neat. They got history. You know, they were machined. The parts were really stout. And they were finished well, and not all of them, but a lot of them, like this one. Anyhow, I'm talking while I'm taking this out. Simply back out the screw. That's pretty simple. But back to what I was saying, these old guns, they were built to last a long time. They weren't considered disposable, if you will. Now the forearm, obviously you can see me pull it straight up and off. So up here at the front, we've got a nose cap, metal nose cap, held in place with the little screw right there. There it is. And use a little punch or something to push out the screw from the inside. You can see that wood fairly thin there, especially here on the sides. And there's our forearm. Lay it over here out of the way. At this point, I'm going to take the trigger assembly out of the gun, and then we're going to tackle the rear sight. But I just kind of want this out of here so this lever's not sticking around, hanging up, getting in the way. As you can see, we have a slot on this pin right here. This is a split pin. It's not a screw. I'm going to tap it out from the left. There it is. See that? It's got some crud in it from years past. But it's a split pin. Lay it off to the side. Withdraw the punch. Now, grabbing the trigger guard, doesn't want to come down. Reach up and pull the lever all the way forward towards the trigger. And the whole trigger breech bolt assembly come right out. All right, so once the trigger group's out, set it off to the side. Like I said, we're going to dive into that in just a minute. We want to take this rear sight apart. So this little screw right here holds the spring in place. So we're going to take it out. There it be. All right, now that the screw's out, we're going to want to tap that spring all the way forward and out. I'm going to move the blade forward. That holds this up just a little bit so that spring can slide out underneath this portion of the sight. There it is. Now, if yours is extra tight, be careful. You don't want to deform this hole in the spring. So go slow. If yours is extra tight, soak it in good penetrating oil before you go pounding on it with a punch and a hammer. Be aware, we don't want to ruin these neat old guns. Now, our pivot pin, right here, looks like we've been thumped on this side, and I'm not sure it's a factory thump, but it looks like it's deformed slightly. So we're going to try and tap this out right to left. There's the pin. And the sight itself comes up. Okay, for our adjustable blade to come off, we have to remove this blade, held in place by this screw right here. I'm going to lay it down so I can get some leverage on it. That little screw comes out. So with the sight clamped in the vise, I can tap that blade forward . And it's moving, it's just on there a little tight. And I know my hand's in the way. There we go. There it is. Set it over there. Now our sight blade should slide right straight off the top. Now, this was all machined. Look how thin that is. And look how thin this is. It's just cool. Just cool. Well, that's our barrel receiver stripped. Ta-da! All right, lay it out of the way. Come over to the meat and potatoes of the gun, if you will. Got our breech block, lever, all the goodies. First thing I'm going to take out is going to be the ejector. As soon as I find the right size punch, there we go. There's the pin for it. And there it is. Now moving to the rear, the trigger group was in this position when I took the ejector out. Ejector extractor. If your lever's in this position, place it in this position, lever up, this guy here, because we're going to fire the gun. That takes tension off of our breech bolt. Our lever has a little bit of play as well. Now we can take out this pin. Now that the breech bolt pivot pin is out and we're loose, we can pull the breech bolt forward and pivot it up at the rear, lift it straight off. We'll tear into this in just a moment. We still got a couple things going on here that we're going to need to remove. This large pivot pin right here. This one looks like it was driven in from left to right. Draw the punch. And our cocking arm, sear surface portion of our cocking arm comes out. Lay it to the side. our lever, push forward and up and around. Move my hands out of the way so you can see. Can't go just straight forward. Got the curve here. Round and out. Got the trigger and spring. Right here's the screw retaining the trigger spring. So let's back out that screw. There it is. And the trigger spring. And a screw retaining the trigger. Trigger pivot screw. Now the trigger comes right out the top. And that's our trigger guard assembly, taken apart. Now our cocking arm. So our cocking arm, sear surface, and our cocked indicator are together. That cocked indicator slides straight out. Again, a split pin section, keep it tight. Lay those over here out of the way. Our breech bolt with firing pin. You can see we have a lock screw here at the rear. Back it out. With that lock screw out of the way, we can take a larger screwdriver and unscrew this cap or retainer. Retains the striker spring, which is this great big coil spring. There it is. And there is the firing pin spring, which is also the main spring, and the firing pin. And there's our little dirty breech bolt. But there it is. Pretty simple, neat gun. I like simplicity, so I will simply see you in just a minute. All right, we're back. Going to put our little Martini back together. Take our breech block and our firing pin. Start the firing pin in from the back. Take our firing pin spring. Slide it onto the firing pin. Slide the whole affair forward. Now, before we get too far along, I do want to point out, which I should have done earlier, real quick, is there is a groove or a slot in the back of the firing pin. And that's so we're going to be able to index this groove for our cocking arm once we start getting things all together. So just be aware. Slide our mainspring back in. Take our plug, get it started, and I just use my fingers. If you have to, clamp the breech bolt, use a screwdriver to get it started. Don't cross thread it, that would be bad. Now you can see that the spring is turning as well. So what happens is the edge of our plug caught on the edge of the spring and it's just spinning the whole affair. Doesn't hurt anything as long as that spring doesn't catch. If that spring catches and stops, then you can damage all the pieces. So we screwed into we're about flush and our groove lines up for our lock screw. Install our lock screw. Snug it up. Now you can reach through the back here, find the slot in the firing pin and index the groove, or if you're offset a little bit, you can reach down through here to line up your groove. It sounds like something a teenager would say these days. Get your groove on, line up your groove, something. I don't know, I'm not a teenager. All right, now that that's in that position, I'm going to set it aside. Take our trigger and our trigger guard, slide the trigger down into the trigger guard. All I'm doing now is lining up the hole right here so I can slide the trigger pivot screw through. Screw it down snug, make sure that the trigger's free to move. It is. Take our trigger spring and with this hump, fit it underneath the nose of the trigger. Slide it down at the rear. Install our trigger spring screw. And this one's chewed up. Somebody's been monkeying around with this. Got it started with the little one. Gonna go with a little bigger screwdriver. Snug it up. Make sure that we work, and we do. All well and good. Take our cocking lever and our cocked indicator lever and press those together. Now, we could put that in there, but we got to put the lever in first. And just like I showed you before, curved lever goes down in and through into place like this. And actually what I'm going to do is start this. I believe we drove it out right to left last time, so we're going to tap this back in left to right. Now I went a little too far. You can see the pin sticking through, so I'm going to press it back out. Can now take our cocking lever, I should say, slide it down in. And that pin was actually loose enough I could push with my thumb. You may not be able to, you may have to set it down and tap yours into place. All well and good. So with the lever in what is the closed position, pull the trigger and allow your cocking lever and your cocked indicator to go forward past the sear surface. Going to take our breech bolt and the cocked lever right here. Make sure it lines up with the groove on the side. I'm trying to get one hand to hold things so I can use the pointer. You're going to want your cocking lever to reach up through our threaded plug. Here, it fits inside the firing pin. Slide the breech bolt down. Now I'm going to look right here to make sure that the cocking arm gets inside that firing pin. Rotate the back down here. Slide it back. Install our pin, and that one pressed right in again. Now to double check things, I'm going to open the lever, so I've got to kind of hold the trigger guard firm and then rotate it forward. Firing pin is back. Cocked indicator indicates that we're cocked. All well and good. Take our extractor, slide it in the trigger guard right here. Line up the hole right there. There we go. Make sure our extractor's free to move. You got to remember that when the breech bolt comes down, it hits it, cams it back. And it does. Cool. Gonna set that off to the side. Take our barreled action and our sight. Remember our cute little sight. And we have to slide our adjustable blade onto the ladder portion. And then take the top blade, slide it down into place. And you can see how we fit pretty close. We've got a little bit of a gap there and a little bit of a gap there. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to give it a light to seat it. Then take a little teeny tiny lock screw. And screw it down into place. Now I'm going to slide the sight into the base, which is on the barrel. And remember how we had one end of the pin that was all chewed up, thumped, and it was on actually the left side of the gun. So we're going to tap this back into place from left to right. And then we're going to take the spring, and if you look real close, I'm going to turn this, wipe it off my finger. We got a slight flange right here to here on both sides, and so we're tapered, kind of angled down like so on that side and so on that side, sort of like a dovetail. And so we're going to start that. And you see that I slid this portion of the sight, the spring up to the sight. And then I'm going to turn this around. And as soon as I can find my non-mooring punch, there it is. Tap that spring back down into place, looking down through the hole where the screw's going to fit. Now my non-marring punch would only push it so far. There we go. Take our spring set screw and try really hard not to throw it on the floor because it would probably get lost. And then I'd be making one. And I don't like to make screws, and little screws are even worse. Okay. So we are spring loaded. We slide up and down. Cool. I'm happy. Hope you guys are. Turn this over. And we're going to get ahead of ourselves. You guys almost let me do that. I'm so disappointed in you. We got to put our cap on first. Slide it into place. Put the screw on. And then screw it in. Remember that wood's fairly thin. Screw it down to where we're flush like we're supposed to be and snug. Now we can put the forearm on. And I'm going to go ahead and tap that pin through, a little further out on that side. I like them to be about equal as far as how far each one is sticking out. Now on this one, I'm going to start the screw. Doesn't have to be tight, but I want to get it started. Start the band over the sight, over the stock. And then I'm going to tighten her up. Turn that over. Put the pin in. Tap it down. All well and good. At this point, I could actually put the trigger in if I wanted, but I don't want to. So, I'm going to put in the long stock bolt. And I push it down, you can see it's sticking out. Remember it was snug in there? Well, it's still snug. There we go. Now, the English are notorious for their two-piece stocks. Martini, short magazine Lee Enfield. But what's nice is it's inletted here to where it fits up inside the receiver, so you're not going to get it on upside down or rounded on the top, flat on the bottom. And it holds it in position so that screw wants to line itself right up. So we will forgive the English this time. Now, take our butt plate, lay it in place, and start the top screw, and then the bottom screw. Now, I know from past experience that the bottom screw has to get screwed on and down before you screw in the upper screw. Now, how do I know that? Because the bottom screw was missing when we got it, and we figured we better replace it with a like kind. Cool, cool. Now our lever latch plate, I think you can see that we have a shorter distance from here to here than we do from here to here. It's subtle, but if you look here, you can see that the hole is quite a bit closer to the screw hole here at the back than it is to this one up front. So we're going to put that in like so. And then we will double check it when we put our lever in. Now, we're going to take our trigger assembly, I'm going to lower the lever, and we're going to turn this over. And I'm going to fumble and flop the gun around. All right, hold on. Now, we've got this round stud that's tapered, matches a tapered hole in the back of the receiver. Now, be aware, already I've noticed something. This pin was so loose that it backed out. I can push it in with my fingers. So we got to make sure that those stay snug. Start that tapered plug at the back. Rotate it forward. Now I'm going to grab the trigger guard to stop it from moving while I compress the lever till it rotates around and in. Turning this over, our split pin starts. Snaps down into place. Once it does, it can spring out a little bit to detent itself so it looks like a screw. Our latch plate engages our lever correctly. Again, like I mentioned, that was flipped around and it didn't detent like that. Didn't work correctly. But hey, we're back together. Now, double check it. We really don't have a safety. No safety to check on this gun. Close it. We do have a cocked indicator lever. So when we pull the trigger, it drops down. The gun is in the fired position. We know that. It is a single shot. So the safety is break it open, take the empty out or the fired case out, and then close it, and you know it's empty. Or leave it broke in that position where you can see the chamber. Neat guns. I think most of you know I like old military rifles, and they're just kind of cool. They all have history. They got wear and tear on them and dings and use. And I like the fact that they, as a general rule, were all machined and then blued, usually cold rust blued. They just got class and style. You all know I'm a Mauser guy, but every once in a while the English put out something that's really cool. And this definitely falls into that category. All right, maybe we'll do a German gun next time. Catch you later.
Do you love guns? Hi, Gene Kelly here, and I've always been passionate about firearms. I started gunsmithing and went to gunsmithing school when I was just 18. I've been a professional gunsmith for over 40 years now, and I'm a licensed Class II manufacturer. I've been teaching gunsmithing since 1993. Now, we started the Gunsmithing Club of America 15 years ago to create a place where people who shared our passion, both professionals and hobbyists, could find reliable, trusted information on real-world gunsmithing. We wanted to provide a place where our instructors could continuously teach our members, where both hobbyists and professional gunsmiths could share their experience and learn from each other. It's to be a trusted community with reliable information. We knew that it would be an extremely powerful resource and tool to preserve our gunsmithing knowledge, provide our members with an enjoyable experience, and as a place that actually protects our firearms freedoms by keeping our guns functioning properly. As a member of the GCA, you'll have access to over 400 hours of gunsmithing instruction and techniques on video, all by qualified instructors who are masters in the field. You will receive our monthly Gun Tech video magazine and print magazine. Plus, the GCA members' website contains almost 200 extremely detailed firearm disassembly and reassembly video courses, hundreds of product reviews, firearms evaluations, and industry interviews. The Gunsmithing Club of America is a one-of-a-kind organization. There's no other club or group specifically dedicated to the art, craft, and profession of gunsmithing. As a hobbyist or a professional, you'll find that this is your source for the knowledge you need. So feed your passion about guns and gunsmithing by being a member in a community of like-minded individuals. If this sounds like you, join us today.